In this video, see how we go. Get my mess all over the floor. From the radiator. Oh, shoot. Well, I definitely got pressure on there because it's blowing out everywhere. Welcome back to CC's Garage. For today, we're going to be working on the 93 hatchback, working on the coolant leak that I've got. I pulled the cap off the second time I filled it up the other day just to get it home. That way it wasn't putting any pressure on the system. Now we'll go ahead and run over. I already know where the leak is. The second time it went out, while it was overheated, while it was under pressure, I was able to find it. Thank goodness, because this would have been one of the hard ones to find. But with that said, here's some tools you could use if you didn't know where it was to help look for it. Okay. Compression tester for the radiator system. Got different styles for different types, adapters, and your little pressure pump here, which this works real nice. If you got a big leak like this one does, you probably wouldn't get the pressure pumped up enough. Now this is something I made. This I used on 6.0 diesels in 4 trucks, ambulances, whatever. I've used it on some GM. The thing is, you've got to have a pressurized cap on the overflow bottle and a return for the system. So this would hook in place into the line that was already coming off. You pull off the bottle. This end would hook back up to the bottle, and then you take our compressor and put it to here. The nice thing about this is, with the pressure cap on it, which most of them are 16 pounds on those trucks, as soon as you got over 16 pounds, it'd tell you if the cap was good or bad. So now on this one, we'll get back around here. Get my light cut on. Now the first time that I got out and looked, there was coolant all across this part of the hood. So I figured, okay, it's leaking from the radiator, it's leaking from one of these fittings. Filled it back up with water at the gas station, didn't find a leak. Like I said, I drove it about another 10 miles, it started steaming again. Windows have been fogging up. I'm still looking for the, pull back over and looking for the leak. And I just happened to notice in here, right back here, you could hear it making noise, and you could see where it was pushing a little bit of steam out. Get this breather off of here. So it was leaking right in this general area down here. So I've already gone and picked up the parts I need to fix it, which intake gasket set. You can use one for, as long as it's a 50 or 302, 504 or 351 Windsor set, it will work on the motor the way I've got it set up. I also, well, get it turned back around here. Camera angles are real good today. Pick me up some black Optimum Flex RTV. Put it either end of the intake. Now, when I go to start this, I'll bring the motor back around and set it at 12 degrees before top dead center. And the reason for that, instead of top dead center, is I'll get the distributor line back up on the number 1 plug with that. That way, when I go to put it back in, all I have to do is drop the distributor back in and line it back up. Then I might have to do a little adjustment on the handheld for the computer. So, get you set up here in a good spot, and out of the way, and we'll start doing a little time lapse of me pulling this thing apart. Okay, grabbed up some of the tools. I went ahead and rotated the distributor to the marks on a harmonic balancer. Well, a harmonic balancer to the marks on it to set it, and lined it up. This is the number 1 plug, which lines up with that. So now I'm going to start pulling the spark plug wires, this heater hose, undo the plugs for the fuel injection. Just get anything out of my way I need to. Pull these plug wires off, that way I can lay the cap out of my way. Get the throttle cable unhooked and fuel lines and all. So I'm gonna set you up here on a time lapse, and we'll get started on this. Okay, got it cleaned up. Got a few things put in place. Got to remember to get this one other piece off of here. Oh, get that hose back. Well, come on. There we go. Okay, I got the intake cleaned up and the head, get the gaskets off the head. Went ahead and put the neoprene rubber, whatever they are, end pieces in. I put RTV on either side of it. This is the hose that ripped, as you can see, which is probably a good thing that I can replace it while I'm here. I zip tied this back up out of my way because I've dealing with putting the intake on before. I've got to lift it up over the fender well, come back and up and in, and try not to set it down in the RTV as I do it. Now, if I would have took the intake apart and made it wider, it probably would have been easier to do. But it was actually pretty easy to do that time. Now the RTV I'm using sets up, but it still remains a little flexible. That way, if the intake shifts or whatever, it'll still seal and not rip apart. Okay. There we go. Had to move the intake forward just a little bit to get the bolt started. Now right now all I'm doing is putting them in finger tight. That way they can let it set. Let the RTV set up. And kind of conform to what it needs to be. Get a little tacky that way. It won't go squirting out when I go to tighten, torque the intake down to its torque specs. I've still got to go pick up that hose that I ripped. Okay. Now if I was doing final torque on this, I would be following the torque sequence to torque them down to. Let me Now on that, when I was watching it, to seat the washer, and some of these, just due to things in the way, makes it a little harder to get them to go down hand tight. Okay. Okay, they're all on hand tight for right now. I'm going to hold off on, like I said, let the RTV set up. I'm going to hold off on putting the distributor in and hooking everything back up until I torque the intake down. That way if I have any problems, I don't have to undo all of it again. So for now, we'll get off here. I think I need to let this set up for about an hour. At least that's what the last one I used said. Let's see. Probably should have read this before I used it. Well, fine blueprint. There we go. Be clean, apply. Allow 24 hours for it to fully set up. So I'm going to allow it a few hours just to start setting up good. That way I won't push it all out when I torque it down. Well, I'll bring you back when I get to that part. Okay, it's the next day here at CC's garage. I let it set overnight. I did do a couple of things after I shut the camera off. I went ahead and put the upper radiator hose back on and got the new bypass hose down there in place. See if I can get a little better light on that. Yep, that new bypass hose right there in place. Still haven't hooked everything back up, you know, kind of trying to keep some of this out of my way. Get that extra light off. I went in to Elderbrock, or on Elderbrock's website, and looked for their Performer RPM heads, what they call for the intake bolts to be torqued to, which is 25 foot-pounds. So I've grabbed out 3 of my torque wrenches. I've got a 1/4 inch here. This one's in inch-pounds. And it starts at 20 inch-pounds and goes to 200 inch-pounds. Well, those bolts call for 25 foot-pounds, which 25 foot-pounds is 300 inch-pounds. That won't go high enough. Then we've got the half inch one here. And this one starts at 50 and goes to 250. Well, that's way more than what I need. So we got this little 3/8 drive. And it starts at 5 foot-pounds and goes to 80 foot-pounds. So this is like anything else. Having the right tool to do the job is what you need. Now, as I torque these bolts, they'll be in a certain sequence. I will be getting my owner's manual out to make sure I do that right. And I'm going to start at a lower rate than the 25. I'll probably go 10, 20, 25. That way it just pulls the intake down a little easier. Or who knows, I may go 5, 12 and a half, 25. Just depends on what I feel like setting it at. So let me grab the Chilton's manual out and get the torque sequence. Well, the torque sequence for the bolts, which one you start with and how you go from there. I'll bring you back as soon as I get that out. Okay, here we go. Get down here on it. Now this shows fuel injection intake, which torques the same way as a standard intake. And it starts, you see 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll be doing that as we go. So let me set you here, make sure I got a good angle. And go over here and grab my there we go, the 3/8 socket again. Now whenever you store a torque wrench, go ahead and store it without any tension on it. That way it doesn't mess up the spring. And you should have them recalibrated every now and then. Okay, nice positive click. Number 2 is going to be this one back here. There we go there. There's a lock on the end of the handle to make sure you don't accidentally twist it as you're doing the other. This is number 4 here. I remember some of these because I've done it a lot. 5 is this front one. Six is one straight across from it. Seven is the opposite corner here in the very back. And you go across to the other side. That was 8. So you'll go, this will be 9. You go the opposite one on the other side. I should have got a longer extension, would have made this a little bit easier. There's 10. You come back to this one on this side. And there's 12. Now that was 10 foot-pounds that I did all that in. So what I'll go back now to is go up to the next step and then to the final step, which is just repeating what I did, same order and all that. I'll bring you back when I get done with all that. Okay, everything's hooked back up except for the air temperature sensor, which is in the bottom of the breather. Throttle cable's hooked up, fuel lines, heater hoses. Distributor's back in, and you see I aimed it almost back exactly where it was. I've still got to put the cap and wires back on, fill it up with coolant, and hook the battery back up, and then we'll fire it up and see how it looks from there. Well, here we go. I've got it idling. It had a little coolant out on the floor, but it is not leaking anymore. It's actually hit it on the screen here. Coolant temperature is 190. This is how you tune the Elderbrock ProFlow system. Let me cut the car off. Show you on the gauge here. Setting about 100, about 180 on this gauge, which is showing 190 on the other one. I've got a 195 thermostat in it, so. And setting the distributor like I did, the timing was at 12 degrees when I fired it back up right where it was supposed to be. Took a few minutes to get all the air out of the system. That's how I ended up with all the coolant on the floor. I'm sitting here trying to think, oh, the other thing I was wanting to mention, when you're buying coolant, go ahead and buy the 100%, because you're paying for a half a gallon of water when you buy the 50/50. Next thing, when you go to pick up your coolant, if you pre-order it, read the label. They give me 2 50/50 ready to use. So I actually paid $2 more a gallon for this than I should have, since they give me the 50/50, where if they give me what I'd ordered, I'd been able to add 2 gallons of water to this for $1.10 if I went and bought it from the grocery store, $1.20, and would have had 4 gallons instead of 2 gallons. So don't buy the 50-50. Buy the 100%, buy you a gallon of water, split it, make you 2 gallons of the 50-50. That's just the way they kind of get you at the parts store. Well, I appreciate you watching this episode of CC's Garage. I'm going to get this thing out of here and go have a drive on this Sunday. A little rainy out, so I'll have to watch it. It likes to get a little sideways when the road's wet if I get on it too hard. But I appreciate you watching, and I'll just have to figure out what we're going to do next week. Got plenty to do. It's what do I want to work on. Oh, another thing. Turn signal's still working in the parking lot. Still working on the truck since I cut that off. Haven't had another problem out of it. Again, thank you for watching CC's Garage. Have a good day.